everybody, to another edition of the Rock Ball Report podcast. I am your host, Buffalo Bills season ticket holder Drew Gear. That's my producer, Chris Kruger. Riding shotgun with me tonight, T. Estell from the Built-in Buffalo Network, from the Not Your Average podcast in the 716. T, it feels good having you here with me.
Thank you. Cheers. How you doing? Ooh, you got it.
Better now that I saved that beer.
I know, right?
I'm pumped. I'm excited to have you in here with us because I feel like I've known you for years. Like, we've interacted, we've gone back and forth. You showed up to the first time I met you was at the Grills Mafia, the very first meetup we ever did.
Yes.
And I've kind of followed your stuff and we've interacted a lot. We've talked. I've been on your show. We've done stuff. I just think that you're one of those people who approaches this from the same place I do. We were talking about this off air.
Yes.
We come from the same school of thought when it comes to podcasting and a lot of things about life. It's just fun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't take this. Can I cuss?
I say whatever the fuck I want.
Too serious.
This is where we let our hair down.
Yes. I don't take this shit too serious. So, I mean, we talked before and it's fun. Coming from, we're both fans of a team that we adore and love and been through some stuff. Like, some stuff.
We have shared traumas. I think what the millennials are calling it. Yeah. We have shared trauma. Yeah.
And we might be toxic.
Oh, we might be toxic.
So
Chris might. I don't think there's a might about that. I'm probably one of the 5 worst people you know, right?
You are the worst person I know.
Called it.
Yeah.
Guys, this is fun. We are here talking about, like, it's weird. This is the week football starts. All of this stuff we've been doing podcast-wise for the last month and a half. I'm so happy it's over.
Yes.
And we're finally in a place where we can just okay, there's actual stuff. I'm going to get to watch guys go play the game and talk about what I saw, rather than just all of this prognostication and the forecasting and everything else. And that got me thinking, you know what goes into a lot of, that's a lot of what fantasy football is? Do you play fantasy football?
I do. I used to be part of 5, and now I'm only 2. That's it.
1.
See, I used to be part of 7.
Oh, wow.
When you have 2 kids, fantasy football, like everything, this podcast, just a demanding job. Yeah. I divorced myself from multiple leagues this year.
Yeah.
3 of them folded immediately because I was the guy running them.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, well, guys, it's cool. I'll turn over all the materials. You can run it. And everyone cratered.
We're done.
How many people over the age of 30 don't actually have what it takes to run a fantasy football league? I almost said, like, people go, oh, every time some new millennial trend comes out, they go, well, all the boomers will point and go, this is why, see, proof the world's ending. There's no future. I had my moment when it was, oh, you mean to tell me that you 32-year-olds can't run a fantasy league?
Never a commissioner.
We're finished.
Right. I'm part of it. I was a part of, I did one. What was it called? Dynasty or something like that. And I won rookie. I was a rookie. I won the $1,000 first time. And they were so happy because I oh my God. I beat the guy that beat them like several times. And I came in and I was the girl, beat the guy. And they were like, yes, yes. And I was like, yeah, I'm done here.
And that's what I said, because the funniest thing about fantasy football is even when you win, it's like being the degenerate gambler at the casino.
Yeah.
You won one year. Woo! And you go tell your wife about it. And you take her out to dinner. Or at least that's what I did. I was like, hey, honey, go get your nails done. And we're going out to dinner. And I'll pay for it with my fantasy football winnings. Ha look at me. So all this nonsense that I was up at 2 a.m. and you're like, what are you doing on your phone?
I know, right?
It's worth something.
I didn't know that Larissa enjoyed Ponderosa.
And then
still a thing.
And then you will inevitably, but it's like the house always wins. You will inevitably give all that money back.
Yes. Yeah. It was great for a day.
It feels good stepping out on fantasy football so we can focus on just the game itself.
Yeah.
I like it.
I couldn't do it because I would forget that I need to set my lineup. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, I'm like 12:30 trying to set a lineup. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't think this is for me anymore.
No. And as avid tailgaters, I can't tell you how many times on a Sunday morning there'll be people who are like in and out of lineups and all of a sudden last minute things are going to.
Yeah.
I'm not paying attention to any of that.
Yeah, because you're out there, tailgating.
Yeah.
And cooking.
I'm tailgating. I don't see any of this. I don't see any of this. So with that in mind, I'm really happy that the season is finally here. It started, and we get to do, Chris, our first preview of a game.
Yeah.
That's our week 1 preview, the Arizona Cardinals at the Buffalo Bills. Your time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, the place, Ralph Wilson Stadium. I will always call it that. For those of you who comment on my stuff going, well, it's technically these is what I'll say to you. I will never call it anything but Ralph Wilson Stadium until they tear it down. The line, the Bills are 5.5-point favorites.
I
don't
Last
like
I
that.
checked. Has that moved, Chris?
I don't know. I can look.
Okay,
I can look.
take a
but
look.
I don't like that at all.
Why?
Has it gone up?
Well, 5.5.
Is it?
5.5 is
Means
like
nothing.
It's a dead zone.
Yeah.
It's not a touchdown. It's not a field goal. That's like a dead zone.
Let's not talk about
Yeah.
field goals, okay?
It's not a good.
It's a
it's
sore
not a good line.
subject.
It's sore subject right there.
Not
You
a
know
good
what we're gonna
line.
do? Since we're on here, so Robin was like, since you guys are going to the stadium, when he comes out to kick the ball, give him a standing ovation and clap. Give him some, some juice.
We need to give Tyler Bass some support.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. Kickers are head cases the way hockey goalies are head cases.
Come on.
That actually is. I do have a whole thing about that for tonight's show. I've got a whole thing.
Okay.
We've got a whole show ahead of us. But
Alright.
first, the crew for this game. It's going to be interesting. He's a third-year official. Rookie. He's a baby in terms of NFL officiating. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, Chris.
You like that?
I don't
I
know
don't
if I
know.
like that.
As long as it's not hockey.
Oh.
Injuries and absences of note for these Arizona Cardinals. I think one of the biggest ones for them. Wide receiver Zay Jones is suspended.
5 games.
Here's the crazy thing. Zay Jones got suspended. Now, I'm not ever going to sit here, given just
Just
my
for the
history
window?
and everything else. What'd you say?
Is this for the window?
To the window.
No, he said he was going to fight for God. They wouldn't suspend him for that. They were mad at him for fighting his girlfriend. But allegedly, because I can't say that or else I'll get sued.
Right, gotcha.
Allegedly, and then the charges were dropped and he got suspended for 5 games. And I find that laughable because
Ray Rice.
What's his name? Rashid Rice.
Oh, yeah.
Rashid Rice is still in the NFL after he was caught on tape wrecking cars, sending people to the hospital, and then running away from the scene of the crime. But sure, I guess the standard for these things is there one?
Super Bowl.
Is
no bowl.
Is it that thing? Like if I get so if what you're telling me is if I get a Super Bowl ring, I can take some liberties?
Yeah, show it.
Because I already take liberties. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I already take liberties. Chris has seen it
Yes.
in person. I got some stories I can tell you. Zay Jones suspended, will not be a part of their wide receiver corps for this game. Xavier Weaver, one of their depth wide receivers, did not participate with an oblique injury, and obliques are one of those hard things, right? Like, as a wide receiver, you need so much body control. I don't know that he's going to be available.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay.
Yeah. Outside linebacker, B.J. Ojolari.
Yeah.
ACL tear in the middle of August. He was their leading pass rusher from last year, will not be available. And their first-round pick at defensive end is also not available for this game.
Darian, is that his name?
I think they put
Robertson?
him on PUP
Yes.
to start the season.
Strain calf.
Some kind of
strain calf.
he didn't tear his ACL, but they thought it was an Achilles injury.
Oh, really?
And then they were like, okay, it's just a calf strain. He didn't tear it, but it's not great.
Yeah.
Chris, I love that you put that up there. For the Buffalo Bills, wide receiver Curtis Samuel, full practice.
Yes.
Quentin Morris, a full practice. Cole Bishop, a full
full
practice. I feel like that Vince McMahon meme.
Oh.
Like, baby, you give me Cole Bishop? I'm about to tip this chair over backwards. Mitch Trubisky is limited. Who cares? Can we cut him now? I don't know why we didn't cut him before.
We got Mike White.
We have Mike
Thank
White.
you.
Just make him QB2.
Just 2, please. Put him in there.
Defensive end Javon Solomon
Yes.
not participating with an oblique strain, which I'm fine
What's
with.
up with the obliques?
Well, it's tough. I guess it's tough when you're ripped. Like, I wouldn't know what it is to have abs, but I guess it's a hard knock life when you have them and then you got to go out there and run around and do stuff.
I get it. I guess.
Chris would know more about that than me. I mean, he's an athlete.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have that problem you do of having extra skin.
Oh, Lordy.
Oh, you are Dad Bod
Not even
Supreme. I
5
love
minutes
it.
in.
What do we have on the docket? You're over there at 503 Sports. What do we have for the viewing windows?
Well, it's called 506 Sports.
506 Sports.
You can find your coverage map, and we've got your favorite, Ross Tucker, the charlatan and carpetbagger, is your sideline or a third man in the booth with Tom McCarthy and Jay Feely. And
Third man in the booth?
not-
Why do they need a third man in the booth?
well, somebody's got to carry Ross Tucker. So
Oh, my God.
we got if you're in D.C., Baltimore, most of Oklahoma, most of Arizona, and most of New York get the game. Other than that, you're shit out of luck. Go to bar or pay the how much is it? $700 for the YouTube ticket,
Yeah.
or just stream the game on some dumb website.
Just find something.
Chris, I got to tell people now, just to get it out there, we are bringing back the Weiner line.
Oh, wow.
It was one of my favorite things of WGR. Just to get this out of the way before we get into the actual conversation, because I'm gonna forget all about it. We've decided that it's time to bring back the WGR Weiner line. You know,
Cool.
they did it for years. It was one of my favorite bits, and radio bits suck. Let's face it. Like, terrestrial radio bits are terrible, and yet the Weiner line at least gave catharsis to a handful of people who were really feeling something. You know.
Yes.
So if you go, the website is memo.fm/rockpile report. You can find it on your cell phone. You can find it on a desktop computer. If you go there, it's a very simple click and play. T, you're looking at it right now. It just says, send a voice message to the Rockpile report and a little bit of an outline of what we expect. And I'll tell you what,
You're really going to do this.
we're really going to do this. And we're going to play some of the calls, I think the best from each week. I'll send them a little Q42 barbecue swag.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. You know, if someone's willing to come bare their soul and their pain and their frustration for my amusement, I feel like I owe them something, right?
You should have did that last week.
Half
I mean,
Dead Herman is a former Whiny Award winner.
Is
So-
he?
Yeah. So, well, please
Yes.
please leave us a memo. You can go as blue as you want.
Yeah.
oh,
Use as many terms as you want, whether the left likes them or not.
hold
I
on.
I
may
love
or
how
may
Chris
not.
has to make
You
this
just
a
have to
political.
put that in there,
Leave
right?
He has to make it a political thing.
You should have put this in there last year.
Is
You know
it-
how many people would have? Woo! You
Dude,
had a
I
lot.
would have burned it down.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. When we're talking about football games, there's a lot of people who can tell you the X's and O's. I can quote statistics. I can do a lot of things. But for me, that isn't what gives football games the juice that they have. It's not the thing that gets us as fans in the seats.
Tuned in. Yeah.
It's not just the performance on the field. It's the story and it's what goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who disagrees with me, what's your favorite Olympic sport?
Oh, snap. Just recently? I mean,
It doesn't matter. Just pick one.
Winter, summer.
Doesn't matter. What's the thing you like to watch in the Olympics?
Gymnastics.
If gymnastics could really make you as a viewer feel something emotional, they would have that 3 times a week on mainstream TV everywhere. The fact is there's no story.
Right.
There's no history that gets brought into it, and nobody feels anything when you talk about the history of a gymnastics program. Not the way you do about the NFL.
Right.
And so it's funny that we're playing the Cardinals because the Cardinals are in a weird place as a franchise, and it's eerily similar. Like, there's some parallels between them and Buffalo that I find really interesting. Like, well, first of all, we have some stark differences, right? Like, one of
They
them,
have the sun. We don't.
they just broke a record,
There's 100.
a world record for 100
Yeah.
consecutive days
Of
of it being
100.
over 100 degrees.
Yeah.
I saw my breath this morning when I went outside.
I love it. I'm not going to lie. I love this weather. This is the best weather.
Like, here's a question. If you live in a place where there's no foliage that changes color, and you live in a place where it's too hot for puffer jackets and for tall socks, and you live in a place where there is no such thing as fall, do you what do basic white girls do in the month of October? Like, do they even know that pumpkin spice exists?
Oh,
is
don't
it
say
legal?
it.
Is it legal to sell it there?
I love pumpkin spice.
Oh no! What
just
do basic white girls in Arizona do in the month of October?
Do you know I did not know what that meant? Basic? I did not know what that meant. A friend of mine was like, "Yo, you're basic," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "You like pumpkin spice?" I was like, "Absolutely, I'm a pumpkin spice chick." I bought some yesterday.
Oh no!
Yes.
Come on! It's
I'm sorry.
It's freshly September.
September is my pumpkin spice starts.
I see pumpkin
Start
beers
day.
in stores and I start getting rowdy.
Not doing it.
I see it and I start getting rowdy. I go, it's still technically summer.
I don't like pumpkin spice beer. It's nasty.
All of it's gross. At the same time, we're cities that are close to natural wonders of the world. We're cities who both rejected our hockey teams. Are having trouble putting butts in seats to watch pro hockey. And we're two cities with franchises that are in the middle of pretty significant rebuilds, at least both philosophically and what you see on the field.
Okay.
And it's weird when you take, they're very different. They play in different conferences that rarely see each other. And at the same time, they do have a lot of philosophical similarities. The difference is that they are more of the drought era Bills, whereas we are more of the, we both have franchise quarterbacks.
Yes.
At least guys who are being paid like it.
Right. It's going to the 6th year, right? I think.
Yeah. And so it's just very interesting to see how these teams find themselves here playing each other. And yet it's very different. Like, they have so much in common, and then so much is different.
Especially now, because retool, rebuild, whatever you want to put on the Buffalo Bills right now, they are trying to find, you have a new OC, a new DC. You're trying to find what works in this offense because you remove several players. And you're just trying to figure out how can Josh elevate this wide receiver room. And he's done it before with nothing. And you see that they put some pieces in here where you can see the pieces that they put in. These guys have been somewhere else and have done things, right? So if you put him with Josh, you would think that he would elevate these pieces. Mm-hmm. So I can see the retool or whatever they want to call out there, whatever they're saying what the Buffalo Bills is in right now. I'm just excited. Like, I'm not worried. I'm excited to see what Josh can do with so many pieces. Where they don't demand. That's what they don't demand. One person doesn't demand the ball. You know what I mean?
It's they're trying to forge a new identity,
right?
And nothing screams that more so than the fact they only have two captains.
Right.
They announced at the start of the season that they're only going to have two captains, one on each side of the ball, and Josh is it. And I think that more than a lot of the bluster that you can put out in a press statement or a press conference or a puff piece that the PR team churns out, those are things that get decided by the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the players make that call. And so when you see that it's the players who got together and said, hey, let's expand the leadership committee behind closed doors, only two guys are going to wear the C, and Josh Allen is one of them. You're a united front behind one guy.
Right.
It's not, hey, I'm Josh Allen and I'm also here trying to placate this guy or this person or this coordinator or this thing. This is the guy on the offensive side of the ball who we all put our trust in.
Right.
I think that speaks volumes as to what they're trying to change about the team moving forward.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are in a different place. I don't know if they agree. Chris, do you happen to have that audio of LJ Collier?
I do.
Guys, both teams, it's another similarity both teams, the Bills and the Cardinals have, is that they both believe they can surprise people based on what's being thrown around about them in the media. And if you don't believe me, let Cardinals defensive lineman LJ Collier tell you all about it.
Oh, man, look, there's definitely been some X's and some O's being fixed there. Nick, learning from things last year. I thought they did a great job last year. And it's one of those things where I've told JJ and Bilal, if we follow the blueprint that they laid out for us, we'll go far. 'Cause I've seen plenty of times where guys were coming free last year and getting sacked and things like that. And look, like I said about JJ and Bilal, those are two smart guys. The questions they ask, things like that, you guys have been in front of them. Those guys are amazing. And the questions they ask and the positions they put themselves in. So I really feel like there's going to be a great jump from the beginning of last year to this year. And I really do think week 1 in Buffalo, we're going to put the league on notice. I feel like that'd be the perfect team to do it because, hell, everybody thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. So why not start with the Super Bowl contenders and put ourselves in the mix?
There you go. LJ Collier, a Democrat from Arizona, lying as usual.
Oh my God.
There you go. I don't.
What? Has he been watching the damn news?
ArizonaCardinals.com. I don't know, whatever website you go to, wherever they put press conferences for the Cardinals, that's where that audio came from.
Guys, first of all, who lied to him and told us that everyone thinks we're a Super Bowl contender? We're not even being picked to win our own division.
Our sisters are. Like, I don't understand what is going on right now.
This feels like one of those Tom Brady-esque things. Like, remember when Tom used to just make up things? Like, he used to just make up things to get pissed about. This feels like that, doesn't it?
We're gonna surprise a lot of people. Do you not watch the news?
We're gonna take down. Well, no, we're gonna take down the Super Bowl contenders. What?
What?
Let me read. Let me ask that one more time.
Our window's closed.
What?
Didn't he hear? The window's shut. It's not even open.
It's just hilarious to me that these are the things coming out of the mouth of a man. And like, I'm not gonna lie, he might be the perfect one to say it because he kind of underscores what this team is. The fact that the soundbite's coming from LJ Collier is actually really hilarious. When you think about the fact that he's a failed draft pick from the Seattle Seahawks, right? Who's now just a journeyman defensive end in the NFL who has just enough size and maybe talent that people keep him around. Mm-hmm. And he kind of embodies what the Cardinals are at their core right now. The fact that they're taking sound bites from that guy tells you everything you need to know about this Cardinals team.
Wow.
Now, I went and read a piece, okay, in the Arizona Republic this week by a guy named
Chris loves that.
Republic.
A guy named Theo. I love how you feed right into. Damn it, T. I love.
I watch.
Theo Mackey of the Arizona Republic, who works the Cardinals beat, and he wrote a whole piece about just the long-term franchise damage that's been sustained because of Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim. Chris, I don't know if you have those photos. If you could insert those into the live.
Oh, I will go. Hold on. Give me a second here.
So he first kind of bemoaned the whole, like, hey, look at the time that they wasted with this franchise. We paid them, we kept them around, and they took what should have been a great run of teams that were bad for a very long time, had multiple top 5 picks in the draft, top 10 picks in the draft, wasted them, and left us with this bloated mess of contracts that the new GM had to clean up, and somehow still never made it past the wild card round. And so with that in mind, like, you've got, like think about who these guys were. Cliff Kingsbury.
Yes.
Who was like a Bond villain wannabe with that stupid front yard with a fire hole in it for no reason. Like, it's not a fire pit. It's just a hole in your yard that's on fire all the time. Who do you think you are?
Didn't get along with Kyler Murray.
Right? No.
They couldn't stand
his handpicked quarterback, and the guy hated him.
Right.
Probably because he knew he was full of crap. And Steve Keim. Yes, Steve Keim. The guy who got a DUI while yelling at the police.
Yeah.
Do you know who I am? Now, T, I want to show you a picture. Chris, if you could put this up there for everybody.
Picture of Steve Keim on here right now.
That is Steve Keim. Okay. Would you recognize him as an NFL GM if you saw him on the street?
No.
No.
Wrestler.
See, I see him, but I feel like I've seen that face somewhere before. Like, it's somewhere. If I could just put my finger on it, Chris, I think I know. I think I know where I've seen that guy before. Do you want to throw that up there? Yes, that's right. His name is Blastoise. He's a Pokemon. Yeah, that's right. That's what you look like. You weird, bald, bearded dude. Like, he's just this giant fat guy with the lower half of his face doesn't look like the top.
Oh, my God.
Also, for those of you who are like, Drew knows cartoon characters. Yes, I was a Pokemon fanatic as a teenager, and I'll tell you what, I was on the basketball bus in high school. You want to hear an embarrassing story?
What happened?
Some of the older kids from the varsity squad thought it would be funny to come make fun of me and my buddy because we had our Game Boys out and they were like, oh, and they had some choice words for us. Talking about, oh, what are you doing, playing with your Pokemans? Do you know what happens to a guy who has thick skin and knows you don't actually want to talk to me? I just started telling him. I go, no, actually, I'm trading him a Pokemon because it won't evolve unless I trade it to him, and then we're going to trade it back, and I need this in order to fill up my Pokedex, which is how I keep track of whether I've got all 100, and they're already walking away, and I go, no, you don't get away that easy. So I followed him to the back of the bus, and now I'm yelling about Pokemon at the top of my lungs, and I'm an 8th grader yelling at seniors, and they're just like,
Get away.
like they'd never seen an autist at work before, so they didn't, like, this is before autism was widely recognized. Not to say that I am, but that's wild behavior. And I'm just yelling about Pokemon to a group of 18-year-olds who are going, for the love of God, we're sorry.
Okay.
And I go, no, you're not sorry yet. Don't ever come over here and talk to me about this again unless you want to hear about it. Yeah, being a dork in high school was cool.
I'm sorry, Drew.
Steve Keim is a hilarious ass. And I'm hilarious. It's hilarious to me that he got fired the way that he did. Let me run a franchise into the ground after getting a number 1 overall pick at quarterback. Getting 2 top 10 quarterbacks inside of 3 years and then getting fired.
That's insane.
So I see it and I feel their pain, right? Like, you think about some of the things, just to qualify this. From 2019 to 2022, the Cardinals made 32 draft picks. 5 of those players survived cuts and made it to the 2024 roster.
Oh, wow.
5 out of 32. And some of them aren't even starters. They're just depth pieces.
Was this the article?
Yep, that's it. You've got it up there. So that 5 is the lowest in the NFL over that time span. 3 starters in 4 years of drafts they've been able to maintain. Now, when I say that, does it make you appreciate Sean McDermott a little bit more?
See, I appreciate Sean McDermott.
Okay, so you do. I have gone on record to announce my disdain for Sean McDermott, but I'll also tell you that makes me feel better about what I have. Like, hey, the grass isn't always greener.
But also, too, I'm also a fan of everybody can't go. I mean, sometimes you get to a point to where you get them where they need to be, and maybe you can't take them to the next step. I'm a firm believer everybody can't go. So, I don't know if he's in the hot seat right now, but it's a wait and see for me.
I saw an article that says he would be, and I was like, if they didn't fire him, they're not gonna. In fact, they just extended both those guys. Yeah. Sean McDermott isn't getting fired. Yeah. He could take this team to a top 10 pick in the draft. Okay, they get a good pass rusher and they rebuild, and
depends on how that happens though. How the season goes.
At this point, I won't believe it till I see it.
Right.
But what I will say is that the behavior of the Cardinals and how they've built this roster that we're going to see on Sunday, and the reason why I'm telling this story before we get into the nuts and bolts and what I think are the keys to the game for the Bills, is I need people to understand how they got here. You've been drafting poorly for years. You fired the guys who were kind of the tentpoles of this entire circus. And now you've brought in new guys who have stripped it all down to pieces and are just importing talent from any place they can find it to field a football team. The impact of that, as we know, we watched the drought, we all lived it, is this never-ending cycle of mediocre, right? Like, hey, you're not going to be bad enough to be the worst team in the NFL, but you're not going to be good. They live in that space right now.
Right.
Just to kind of underscore that, their offensive line, okay, they recently drafted left tackle Paris Johnson. Mm-hmm. Everything else on their offensive line is just a mishmash of cast-offs from other teams that didn't want them, okay? Right tackle Jonah Williams was sent packing by the Bengals. That's a team with a quarterback who's always hurt. You don't think they would have wanted to keep him?
Right.
He's not making that much money. Will Hernandez from the Giants, a guard who unceremoniously shipped out of town. Okay. Johnson gave up left tackle Paris Johnson gave up a team high 8 sacks last year with Will Hernandez next to him, and they didn't do anything about that. They were just like, well, you'll figure it out, right, Rook? right, kid? You'll just figure it out. their center, whose name I will perpetually
Yeah.
butcher. It's like
Listen.
Hajti Haga not gonna matter because you suck at this. Froholt. He's on his third NFL team in 4 years.
But they say he's a dog.
Oh, good. He's a dog. So am I. It doesn't mean I belong on a football field.
Exactly.
He wasn't a starter for any of the teams he's played on until he got to Arizona. That's suspect.
McShay. What is it? Band-Aid O-line.
Yeah. Their starting inside linebacker, Mac Wilson, he was a starter for Cleveland back in 2019. Pre-COVID, that guy was an NFL starter. He's lost starts every single year afterwards until last year he only got one for New England.
Oh, wow.
So you're going to tell me that's the guy? Like, oh, that's the reason I should feel strongly about my linebacker core is because they've got that guy.
I don't know. I mean, the way that they're talking about, well, the guy, the way he was speaking about the Cardinals and how people are taking them for underestimating.
Yeah.
Underestimating the Cardinals, and we're going to come into Buffalo and show them. Touche, because I can say also too, the way the media is speaking about the Buffalo Bills is that they can come in and upset the Buffalo Bills because we don't have a roster. Like, it's just all of a sudden they forgot to play football. They don't know how to play football. The defense is just
everything's terrible. The
Hey.
Cardinals cut their entire cornerback room from last year and replaced them with free agents. There is not a single starting cornerback from last year's team on the roster today. Is anyone noticing a pattern here? This is a team that tried to do a rebuild, and they're doing it cheaply, and they're doing it with other teams' cast-offs. Do you think that that's a good idea? And then you're going to come into a team's house like Buffalo's, and you're going to steal on us?
But I think they're going to lean on, I guess, the offense and that run game and their high-powered wide receiver.
Yeah. Is he,
rookie.
though? Have I seen it?
I don't know.
Then
We
it doesn't.
haven't seen, right.
So this is it, guys. When we
I
talk,
do like the matchup of Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbage, which I can't believe. I'm going to apologize to all of our viewers that are currently listening. We're just over a half hour in. I haven't gone full Babbage.
Oh, there it is. We just went full Babbage.
I don't even know if I'll be able to put this on while you guys can watch me struggle putting on a gold
The
chain.
Babbage chain.
But I do like McDermott and Babbage against Marvin Harrison in his first NFL game. I like that matchup a lot.
100%.
I love it.
And I'll say this. I think that most people are cautiously optimistic if you're a Bills fan. Because you're like, oh, well, we've seen the Cardinals offense. We've watched Kyler Murray. I think some of it's still scar tissue from that game we lost to him at the gun a few years ago. But the thing is, the margins between wins and losses in the NFL are very thin.
Yes.
We know that. And the difference between winning and losing a game is usually just a handful of bounces.
Yes.
But with that said, like, in the words of Sean Connery, the Cardinals are bringing a knife to a gunfight. Like, that's what you've done. And it's on Buffalo. Like, I think this game is entirely Buffalo's. And this is setting the stage for them to show us what type of team they are and what they're going to be. And we know, we've watched the Bills do the thing where they grow and they evolve over the course of a season. So I'm not so wrapped up. You know, you were on Twitter Spaces with me the other day, and I made everybody real upset when I said they could be 2-4, 3-3.
Did.
And it got everybody's
They said
hackles
you
up.
have to explain this one.
That's not happening.
But here's the thing. If they did it, I wouldn't be mad about it because I'd look at the schedule and go, okay, we had a figuring out period where we still, like, you believe in what you've seen in practice and you believe in what you've seen in this preseason out of your skill position players if you're the Bills offensive coordinator. But you don't know what they are. You know, the example I gave yesterday. You might look at a guy like Mac Hollins and say, I know that he can do X, Y, and Z. And then you put him out there in live action football and you find out he can only do X and Y. And you say, okay, now I just have to find an adjustment for how do I get Z if I need that in a given set of circumstances. That's time on task. You can only learn that through time.
And that Sean McDermott said that about Bobby Babbage,
Yes.
about how he doesn't have experience. And he said, well, experience, you get that from doing,
Yes.
so
in a lot of ways, this team is going to
I'll be curious to find out when, at any point in the season, that Babbage rubs off on McDermott and we see him on the sideline
with the gold chain?
A couple of gold chains.
I'm going to see him at Caputi's on a Wednesday night.
We see Sean McDermott. I'm like, Bobby Babbage Jr. Look at this. Junior. Or 2, because he's already a junior, right? So
we're going to get to that Titans game in October, and just McDermott's going to have, he's going to look like Mr. T.
You're not even, wait, Chris,
Ginger
you're not
Mr.
even going to
T.
see it. You're like, wait, was that what's underneath? Did you see?
Yeah.
He's
got his $13.99 gold chain from Amazon.
He's gonna show up for press conferences, and he's gonna do the polite thing where he tucks them under his shirts, but he's gonna have 9 of them under there, and a giant Jesus piece.
Oh
right
my God!
And some all the reporters are gonna be too scared to ask about it, or it'll be that thing where they ask, and Sean McDermott downplays it, like I don't know what you're talking about.
Right? I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, sounds like the left-wing media.
I
think I always go into it. Like I fall right into it.
You fall right into it. See, you got to just steamroll.
I know,
right
I do. I'm sorry.
Sorry, the super Mexican is here, so politics must be
There's
discussed.
a guy called Super Mexican.
What?
Yeah, he's a lucha. He's like a drunken half-ass luchador who took a rebar to the face once. It's pretty funny. He's great.
Okay.
I hope he's coming on Sunday.
Our fan base as a podcast is hilarious. I love these people. I love these people to death.
He better be there on Sunday.
So what I'll say is they are kind of a half-assed football team. The same way Chris is a half-assed podcast co-host. And then I take a look at the Bills, and there's a weird thing. Before we get into the matchup stuff, there's just this weird thing, and I want you to see it. Here's a chart I made. Something has happened, right? There's just something weird when I start going through trend analysis. As a finance guy, I do it. I start looking at numbers, and I'm looking for something, and I go, week 1, I feel like I've been disappointed. I'm always nervous. Why do I always feel nervous? Why do we as a fan base always downplay our team's potential for success? Take a look at that. Tell me that that's not some weird shit.
But the way it's going, we should win.
This is it. So, guys, what I'm talking about is I made a small chart, and it was just years. Each year, our week 1 and our point total, week over week over week. Mm-hmm. And where you end up is that throughout the course from 2019, since Josh Allen's non-rookie season, throw that out.
Gotcha.
We scored 17 points in what was a 1-point victory against the Jets. Then we went on to win a 27-point victory over the Jets the following season in week 1, where, Chris, that was the game I bet you that that Josh Allen couldn't throw for 300.
Oh, yeah,
not even because I didn't think he could do it, just that no one had done it.
Right.
Followed up by 2021, we scored 16 points and lost. And everyone went, wait a minute, we're the Bills.
Yeah.
And the Steelers somehow came in here and just stole a game from us. A punt block for a touchdown? Like, what the hell?
Well, we all know that was Reed's
That was a home
fault.
opener.
And then the following year, we go out to the left coast and just blow out the Rams 31, in a game that was never close. And then we lose in a 16-point loss on the road on Monday Night Football the following year. It's hard to reconcile the fact that we pivot between monster offensive performances and dismal offensive performances every season.
Yeah.
There has to be a cause for that. Once or twice is a fluke. The fact that it's been happening on and off in that same pattern since 2019, it's troubling. Except we seem to be on the right side of it now.
Yeah. This year's ours.
This year's ours. What is it that you think makes the Bills' offense so unpredictable the first week of the year?
I would have to say rhythm, not cohesiveness, I guess.
It's something,
right?
It doesn't come from nowhere. The fact that your team, who has a quarterback who can throw the ball well, that his wide receivers, who you know can put up yardage and points, and an offensive line that can pass block well enough to support that,
Right.
suddenly just evaporates for a single week. And you go, wait a minute, why did you start so slow?
So, okay, let me ask you, you didn't do that chart. Is it anything to do with playing in the preseason? Do you think that has anything to do with it?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because he didn't play in the well, he really, 3 snaps?
3 snaps.
Maybe 3?
He didn't really play.
Right. So, is that something that may be the issue of why the up and down?
No, I don't know what. Chris, if you had to prognosticate, why is their offense on and off really bad? Is it that you put enough? Because if you think about it, you also see the curve with the coordinators and the overlap in those years.
Right.
Where last year it was Dorsey starting week 1 in 2022, picking back up in week 1, 2023, and he'd gotten figured out. Dable was responsible for 2 of those rises and falls. So the fact that Brady is kind of getting a clean slate here, they've got about 6 games of tape on what he could be, but not with this
Not with the
skill position group.
Yeah.
So nobody has the book on him.
And
I think that bodes well. I think that's a positive.
it does. Yeah, it does, because the fact that because he was an OC in Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
That didn't go well.
No.
So
Although, let's face it.
You got to go top down. Ownership to your head GM, to your head coach. It was not a good look for Brady in Carolina.
Yeah.
Chris, I think the line you're looking for there is a fish rots from the head down.
Yes, it does.
So,
It sure does. But that's a good question, though. Like,
why do we have this tumultuous thing on offense where we can be hot one year and then immediately cold the next year with the same coordinator and the same approach? This is why I think there's an actual, for both of our coordinators, you were talking
Right.
about Babbage, and he's talking about Babbage and his chains, but I see this and I go, there's a real opportunity for Brady to capitalize on the fact that nobody knows him yet.
mhm.
And now he has the chance to kind of show, not just because of the X's and O's, but just philosophically what he brings as a scheme. Nobody really knows what that looks like.
Right.
So if we were ever going to get off to a hot start,
It would be now.
could benefit
Yeah.
from the fact that there's so little tape
on.
on what he wants to do
Right.
with our starting skill position group.
Because you can't even go back and say that the last 6 games, because those are not even the wide receivers that are skill players that were here last year. So you can't even look at that. And you can't, yeah. And you're going into, like, everybody says your first week of playing is just, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because
It's all
there's
up for
no
grabs.
tape.
Everything's an unknown because you believe in something. Same way you earlier called Marvin Harrison Jr. dynamic. I don't know that he's dynamic.
Right.
I haven't seen it.
Right.
The same way people are like, oh, Keon Coleman can't make an impact.
We
I don't know that because I haven't seen it.
Right.
You have to show me. Like, I've at least learned that over 13 years of being a season ticket holder and all the time I've spent behind this microphone talking about things that I think, I've learned that I can't truly believe in it until I see it. Show me that you're bad. Show me that you're good.
Yeah.
I'll back your play if I think, like, I can prognosticate. You can give me all the fancy analytics you want. Oh, he ran the whatever drill at the combine and he was the fastest while catching the ball. Doesn't matter.
The gauntlet.
Go do it in the field.
Right.
Do it on the football field and show it to me, and I'll believe in you. I think that we have an opportunity to not only surprise what is a grossly undermanned Cardinals team,
Mm-hmm.
but also this early run that's supposed to be difficult. We could surprise a lot of people with a lot of things they haven't seen and therefore don't have the ability to prepare for it.
That's true. That's true. I mean, because there's no tape. There's no tape of what Josh Allen can do with these wide receivers. I mean, you've seen what Josh can do with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, right? And
Khalil Shakir and
yeah, you've seen and Cook's back. You know what he can do with all that, but putting that all together with Brady,
also knowing that he can do it doesn't mean you can stop it.
Right.
I mean, for fuck's sake, look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs in the playoffs were like, there's no way he can run and then throw across his body and throw a pass into traffic to a wide receiver who's falling down in the end zone for a touchdown.
Right.
Good luck. People have literally, defensive coordinators have lost their ass trying to go, Sean McDermott, those guys, Josh Allen, like, they're good, but Josh can't do this. Good luck. I don't doubt him. I don't doubt him anymore.
Ask Salah when it came to the 49ers, when he's put his hands up and was just like, what is this?
What?
Remember that game when he couldn't figure out Josh Allen? He was a 49ers defensive coordinator.
Chris, that was the Molson Ice game.
Oh, yeah.
It was the Molson Ice game where I had 9 of them. 9 Molson Ice gas station pounders.
Molson Ice.
It was the worst hangover of my life.
I bet.
I was shirtless outside the next day at like 11 o'clock in the morning. My wife.
Can you get tea in Narragansett? Can you just open it, drink? You don't have to finish it. Open that, drink it, and tell me that is not empty calories. Taste of nothing.
Beer of the clams?
Yeah. It has no flavor, taste of nothing. Sip that.
It doesn't even smell like nothing.
Yeah.
I want to see this. It's nothing.
It's nothing.
It's empty calories. That is the taste.
I might have to take a picture of that and may have to bring it to my football game.
There you go. See,
you can get it at Premier Gourmet.
Ew.
Okay.
Wait, you went out of your way to find this?
Who told you about this?
We had this Christian Simonelli from the Roundup.
Okay.
Because it's marketed on the can as a New England beer. If you read the fine print, brewed in Rochester. But,
oh my
exactly.
God.
But it's like Christian told me Narragansett is just straight piss. And so when I hear that a beer is piss, I think it's Brew Gear. So I buy a 30-pack because that's all you can get. And it's like $18.
Yeah, because they're trying to ship out as many as you can before you realize they stole your money.
Because
they wouldn't sell it in a 6-pack.
The last couple weeks, it tastes of nothing.
It's nothing.
Yeah, because I Premier Gourmet, they're out of Montucky. I haven't been able to get any.
Really? Well, you guys promote it. That's probably why it's out.
No, you know what happened is they got bought out by
one of those boxes.
They got bought out by AB. That was the end of the.
Those have been sitting there. Hey,
I thought they were empty.
No, they're warm. They're warm. They're still. Those are the ones that came from Kansas.
Oh, really?
So yeah, those are about 2 years old. If you want to have one,
not even that. So when you guys
are you drinking warm beer?
Got the Montuckies, right? I went out and bought them at Premier.
Yeah,
pretty good beer.
It's not bad.
I think I sent you the picture that I got. I drank one. It's not bad.
I will tell you this. I'm gonna miss this. I'm gonna miss this.
I can't believe you're gonna open.
I'm gonna miss this beer, Chris. Why don't you cue up my drop here because we're about to talk about the keys to victory.
Wow, that's a lot of keys. Bigger the keychain, more powerful the man.
God, warm beer.
True.
That's how strong I'm feeling tonight, baby. I think that the key to victory for this lies in the hands of the guys who I'm going to start referring to as, you know how I told you the other day, the Lone Granger, because I drink too much to remember how to say
his name.
Well, what is it? Cedric Van Prane Granger. I'm not saying that. I'm just going to start referring to our coordinators as the Killer Bees.
Okay.
Just the Killer Bees.
Wu-Tang.
Bobby Babich. I did.
Wu-Tang.
Wu-Tang, baby. You think that's an accident?
There you go.
Killer Bees on the swarm.
There you go.
Woo! See, T? I love it. This game represents a massive opportunity for our defensive and offensive coordinator to get the season off to a great start just based on the tools they have at their disposal and the philosophies we've already seen them employ. I think it's here. And I want to start it off with just cornerback and wide receiver mismatches on both teams. Both ways, if you look at this roster-wise, there are mismatches that work in the favor of the Buffalo Bills. The Cardinals drafted Marvin Harrison Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal wide receiver. Put him in a group that doesn't have really anything else going for it. Greg Dortch, I actually really like him. He was a player that if they didn't, he was an exclusive rights free agent, so he had no choice but to sign there. But I would have killed for Greg Dortch in a Buffalo Bills uniform.
Yeah,
he is a great slot receiver. Finished fourth in the NFL in 2022 in separation.
Mm-hmm.
Despite playing slot where you don't get a lot of breathing room.
You know what they call him?
What?
Dortch, the torch.
I'd trust that. Hey, listen, I watch him set
Dortch,
dudes on fire.
Yeah,
More than half of his yardage last year came after the catch.
yeah. He gets yak. He
You
definitely
put the
does.
ball in his hands and the guy makes plays.
Yeah.
And then, Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson, who I know some people have an affinity for.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this. 500 yards as a third-round pick isn't bad, right? Like a 500-yard season out of a third-round pick, Chris, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Except he only catches 64% of his targets.
Oh, he drops the ball a lot.
Hey, is he Gabe Davis?
It's a smaller, less physically imposing, slower Gabe Davis. Yes, that is exactly who he is. He should be better. But one of the things that concerns me about him for the Cardinals is that he only drew 14 targets when teams played man coverage against him. Which means he doesn't run his routes well enough to separate on his own.
Gotcha.
Well, that's going to be a problem because this isn't a team that I expect a lot of people will play. Well, we'll get into this. Trey McBride. He's a fantasy star right now. People are taking him as like the fourth or fifth tight end off the board.
Yes.
If you're playing fantasy football. Now that Zach Ertz is gone, he's going to be a target monster.
Yeah.
Right?
He gets yak.
Gets
as
yak, has good good hands,
Mm-hmm.
good route running, understands spatial awareness in his zone. He does a lot of nice things.
He doesn't block well, but he will. He'll make an effort.
The problem for them is that outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., there is nobody capable of threatening down the field.
John Brown?
John Brown, Larry Fitzgerald. Who else?
John Brown. Oh, no, what's his name? What's the guy?
Anquan Bolden?
No, he caught the ball.
Tyree?
No, he caught the ball in the Hail Mary.
Oh, Hopkins.
Yes.
Hopkins? Yeah, no DeAndre Hopkins. Is that guy around? No. There's nobody who threatens in the 20 to 30-yard window of the field. There's nobody who's open deep. And that's a problem, right? Because there's no one to back safeties out of the box
Okay.
for an offense that really thrives given its structure is to play small ball.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe me, here's a statistic. Chris, in 2023, Josh Dobbs and Kyler Murray each started 8 games for the Arizona Cardinals, and each of them had almost 268 passes. 266 for Murray. I'm not going to split hairs. Murray finished the season with 230 more passing yards, 1,799. But Dobbs led the team in air yards with 911. That means that more than half of what Murray threw for were like screen passes and passes within the 5 to 10 yard window. And then the wide receivers just do the rest of the work. And
But
then,
who had more kills on Call of Duty? And were they Democrats? That's what I want to know.
Oh my God.
guys, I love that Chris, as we get closer to November, is just becoming this guy. I also don't mind this warm Montucky. It's fantastic.
Beer doesn't get old. Not like that.
Beer's
It's not in sun. There's nothing like that. I mean,
it's
they're
the
good.
best.
They're good.
Here's what happens, though, to the Cardinals offense, knowing that dynamic. As a team, they scored 2 touchdowns as a wide receiver core between the guys who were on the roster last year and coming back this year. 2 touchdowns against zone, 6 versus man and press man coverage. Because Dortch had 3. If you try to man up against Greg Dortch, he gets wild. But if you just play zone and just pass him off to the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy, and you can chain that together, there's no wide receiver on this team who's threatening. And that's going to be a giant problem for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially in a game against the Buffalo Bills, who play a really good nickel zone defense.
Especially if you're relying on your rookie wide receiver.
Yeah. If you're relying on him to carry the load, that's why I loved all the people who were prognosticating that Keon Coleman was going to have this giant year. Don't do that.
He was going to be wide receiver 1. I don't even think
He should be wide receiver 4. until he proves
And
to
I'm
you
fine with
otherwise.
that.
What I tell you, until I see it, I don't believe it. He should be wide receiver 4. I expect him to come out and make some egregious mistakes.
He's a
I
rookie.
expect him to
Yeah.
look every bit of a rookie,
Yes.
and that's okay. Because
They're
we
not
don't-
depending on him, or even they're not depending on Keon Coleman to come out to be that.
Nope.
Who's a wide receiver that was a rookie that I don't even know, but they're not depending.
Sammy Watkins, where we were like, oh God, our passing game is going to be good because we got Sammy Watkins.
And little did we know he was on Chippewa.
He's on Chippewa telling everybody that he's a lizard from outer space.
The days.
What?
The days.
And
The-
playing in the 5th preseason game.
The days that we have had, T, we've survived a lot.
Yeah,
As
cheers
Bills
to that.
fans, this team has given us
Water
hell.
in your beer.
But so this has given both, like for Babbage, this breeds opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because the defense is already really nuanced in playing zone and zone match coverages. It's kind of the backbone of what the McDermott system has already been. And so, despite not having the deepest safety room, knowing that they're outside of that rookie, they don't have a ton to consistently challenge you in that deep window.
Okay.
I wouldn't be shocked to see our defense rotate the strong safety down into the box more often than not, just to back up the linebackers to make sure that Greg Dortch can't catch a broken play and get loose.
Well, not even that, backing up the linebackers. I mean, because of Williams and his, I don't want to say inconsistent covering, but because he can cover, but it's just play action. He roams, I guess I want to say, and he's still not familiar, right?
Well, he's not familiar, and also his eyes, like the thing that makes, like we've talked about this, the thing that makes a Matt Milano special is that he can see a play, diagnose it in
Yep.
real time, and react.
Yes.
It was the thing that was so impressive about Joe Andreessen.
Yes.
We got to watch a guy who's diagnosing in real time and is picking more
Yeah.
often correctly than incorrectly.
Right.
That's the hard part of football. Being an athletic freak is easy.
Well,
It's not. I mean,
Edmonds. We can say that. That's the
there's a reason Roquan Smith got picked before Tremaine Edmonds.
Right.
Because Roquan Smith had that recognition,
Yes.
even though he wasn't nearly the physical specimen Tremaine Edmonds
Right.
was. Dorian Williams has the problem that he just doesn't have that recognition yet.
Mhm.
And some of that's learned, some of it's innate. His isn't polished yet, but that's okay. There's still
Yeah.
a place for him here on the football
Right.
field. But don't be shocked if you see a lot of single high and late safety rotations. But that's good because it will help the box in this short defending against that short area passing game that this Cardinals team thrives off of at
Right.
this point in its existence.
they'll try to hide Dorian.
Yes, you should,
Yeah.
as you should, until he proves to you that he can kind of freelance and live on his own.
Right.
On the other side of things, right? Like, also we have Teron Johnson.
Yeah.
So Greg Dortch is great, but I've got a great slot corner.
Yeah.
You're going to have a tough time. If you flip to the other side and you look at our wide receivers against their DBs,
Is a guy 5'10"?
I feel like it's that Channing Tatum, like Deadpool thing. Woo, I'm about to make a name for myself.
Oh my God. I love
I'm about to
that.
make a name for myself.
I love that.
The Cardinals are a team that just gutted their entire cornerback room, brought in draft picks and free agents that other teams didn't want to keep, and decided to make them starters. Sean Murphy-Bunting, that's a guy who was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then they let him loose, and he was a Tennessee Titan, and that lasted a year, and now he's here in Arizona, just making the rounds. And I will tell you that if you follow, like there's things to like. Buda Baker,
Yeah. I
great
love-
safety.
He didn't did he request a trade?
I think he tried to,
Right.
and then they threw him some more money, and
And
he
they
shut it down.
Yeah.
And then whatever it is, Taylor Demerson, they called him DTD, and everybody loved him in Bills Mafia as a draft prospect. I remember that in the run-up to the draft. Everybody loved that guy, to the point where the guys over at the Air Raid Hour, the only person I know who has worse hair than Chris, at Cover One, the Air Raid Hour, I think it's Steve Mathis.
Steve Mathis.
Mathis is all I'll ever call him. He was like, this guy is gonna be better than Cole Bishop.
Ooh.
All right, well, that's a
That didn't
sure.
work out right.
That's a take. You can have it if you want, but that's a take. Everybody liked him though. So cool, you have safeties. And yet, even with those safeties, they're still listed by multiple outlets, Chris, as the worst secondary in the NFL in 2024. They have a size issue too, which is going to come into play in this game. Your defensive backs are all very tiny, and you know what the Bills did with their wide receiver core? They got big.
Yeah, big and
Honey, I blew up the kid. Like we all like you have these tiny little water bug wide receivers mixed amongst the trees that are a bevy of 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" wide receivers, plus some dominant tight ends. Understanding zone concepts and going out there and making plays against it. Kincaid in the open field, Dawson Knox in the red zone. Like, say what you want about Dawson Knox and his inconsistency. His touchdown totals are still incredibly high for a tight end in the NFL.
It is.
And it's because in that area of the field, there's very little you can do about a guy who's content to catch and run through your face. And that's what Knox does well.
And if you roll out 12 personnel or 13 personnel, what are you going to do?
And so this is where it becomes a problem because what they run is this scheme. It's a 4-2-5, right? They have Zaven Collins, who I remember Bills fans telling me that he could be the first round pick replacement for Tremaine Edmonds. He didn't get his 5th-year option picked up, which means he's going to hit the free agent market next year.
Gotcha.
So he's not a replacement for anything, and I don't want to hear anything else about Zaven Collins. They use him as like an on the line of scrimmage pass rusher, also as a stand-up linebacker. So they like to kind of fluctuate between it, but it's primarily this weird 4-2-5 thing with a too high safety shell. We've seen this.
Yeah.
It's basically nickel defense when you want to put that linebacker's hand in the dirt.
Right.
That doesn't match up with us well, because remember how I was just bagging all over the linebacker, the one who came from the Patriots and had one start last year, and now he's your starter?
Gotcha.
Okay. If you're the Cardinals, Garrett Wilson wasn't a good rookie, and he's your starter. So you have two bad linebackers who are both 6 foot and under 240 pounds. Good luck. You're going to line up against whom exactly? Because when you think about our tight ends, and then you throw in the fact that, hey, our wide receivers are all massive human beings. So when you decide that you're in a 12 personnel grouping, and then you decide, hey, I'm going to take this 12 and I'm going to turn it into 11. I'm going to split Kincaid out. And I'm going to split this guy out. And God help you if you decided that you were going to put Zaven Collins out there in the field and leave him as your linebacker, because now you have no choice but to put him out there.
Yeah.
Or you have to drop a safety down, but where do you put Collins? How do you defend against this? Brady has an opportunity here to expose what is a very limited defensive core for the Cardinals. Because these journeyman players that they're trotting out here they can be attacked, whether it's our running backs, whether it's our tight ends. Here's a question, Chris. I'd like to see this offense pass. I mean, because that's the thing, right? You're like, oh, we can get all over them now with the size mismatches. I don't know. I'd like to believe that this is an offense that should probably only throw the ball about 20 to 24 times.
Yeah, you're going to run the ball. You're going to run the ball down their damn throat.
And that brings me to the next mismatch. In the trenches on both sides of the football, like, it's painfully cliche if you say the thing, the game of football is won in the trenches.
I mean,
like, it's almost as bad as Chris and I going, a goose fraba. But I'm still going to do it. I'm going to do it every time. You people freak out about things, and you can't stop me because it's my podcast. But the saying is that that's where the game gets won. It still holds true.
Yeah, it does.
And so with that in mind, we have significant glaring advantages from where I'm sitting. When you take a look for Brady, the defensive line might also be a bottom 5 defensive line for the Cardinals in the entire NFL. They lost their best pass rusher. They lost the guy who was supposed to give them upside as a draft pick. Their linebackers obviously aren't anything special.
Well, they lost one of them.
One of them's a rookie. One of them shouldn't be a starter in the NFL. The Patriots were bad and kicked you off their team after not letting you start. And now some other team's giving you a fresh start because they think it's going to revive your career? Or did they just want to play it cheap and get through another year while they rebuild?
Yeah. I think the latter.
The hubbub about our offense, right, is that we were winning games last year down the stretch, but doing it with a bigger emphasis on the run. I mean, just ask Stephon Diggs. He will tell you all about it.
Yeah. I mean, that Dallas game alone, Josh, threw 15 times, maybe?
15 times. And then he in the press conference afterwards, he said he felt like the kid who showed up for a group project and everybody else did all the work.
Right.
He goes, I feel like we got a 95 and I didn't have to contribute.
I didn't do anything. Well, I mean, if that's the game plan they're going to do on Sunday, I'm down for it. I mean, you're going to be able to run. James Cook or Ray Davis is going to be able to run on this defense.
Not just run, but you're going to be able to pick your holes because they
Right.
don't have an enforcer against the run anywhere on their line. They don't have it at the linebacker level. Their safeties are known to be strong against the pass. Their safeties aren't known to be box support,
Right.
strong safety. I'm going to tackle against the run. It's not their game. And if you want to tell me that this Damian or whatever his name is, Taylor Demerson is going to step in and just all of a sudden be that guy, again, you're talking about something I've never seen with my own two eyes, so I don't believe it. He'll have to come in here and be like the second coming of Ed Reed for me to buy the fact that their secondary is going to give them quality run support. So in that way, I think this defense is in a lot of trouble. And if you're Brady, this is the perfect opportunity, especially knowing there's a short turnaround to a divisional game the following week,
Thursday,
to put as little about our passing attack on
Out
tape as
there.
possible.
Right. Exactly.
This is a game where you should be able to give each running back on your roster. Like, let's say the game day actives are Ray Davis, James Cook, and Ty Johnson.
Ty Johnson.
I almost called him Ty Montgomery. Remember that guy?
Um,
Another weird gadget running back, but he sucked.
Packers.
Jets?
I thought there was
He also played for the Jets?
No, he also played. I thought he played for the Bears. No?
He might have.
Possible.
Yeah.
He might have. What I'm thinking, though, is I'm looking at this. I'm saying to myself, I want each of them getting at least 7 to 10 touches. At least, minimum. Because I feel like this is, and it's also a good game to let your offensive line, like, settle in.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, because one of my biggest question marks about this team is David Edwards. Well, guess what? You know what you don't have to put a lot on his plate for? The guy who you brought in specifically for run blocking formations last year.
Right.
Let him get his feet wet and
yes.
settle in next to a new left tackle, or at least he's settling in as the starter next to a left tackle and a guy who hasn't played center since college.
Right. Because Deion Dawkins did say every time he has a guy next to him is new. He never comes back into a season where it's the same guy.
Nope.
So I can see them trying to get like you said, their feet wet. New center, new guy next to Deion Dawkins. Let's just do some run.
Hey, Torrance, you know how things didn't go well in that last game against the Chiefs?
God.
Hey, guess what? Let's get back to what you did, buddy. Let's just go beat some people up in a
Right.
phone booth. Hey, Spencer Brown, we're not going to worry your shoulder surgery that you didn't look great in the preseason, but you might still kind of be feeling some of it. Let's get back to what got you to this stage,
Yes.
which is just being a road grader of a human being. And oh, by the way, the other team happens to probably stink at that.
Yeah.
Like
Let's
is
just go out and beat the guy in front of you.
And in that way, Brady can do some things, right, that will set them up for success in the game, but also kind of help him hide some of the more elaborate parts of our playbook. Because we're going to need him here in the next week or two. We've got a tough slate of games against really good coordinators, really good defenses.
Yeah.
I want to go into those games knowing we've got some wrinkles that they haven't seen yet. This is a way that you could not only be productive, keep the ball moving, and also help out your defense by keeping their offense, because Kyler Murray's a lot, right? Like, we're going to talk about this. Kyler Murray is a lot because of his mobility and just his off-script playmaking. Keep him on the sideline. Make this a long afternoon for that defense.
For sure.
And if you do that well, I firmly believe if every running back gets 7 to 10 touches, this game goes our way.
Stay in front of the sticks. Like, stay in front of the sticks. That's what they need to do.
Am I the only one here, like you guys in the comments, am I the only one who feels like the Bills would be well served hiding a significant portion of their playbook for the next month and a half? Like, for use later, especially week 1.
So after week 1, we have Miami. And then after that, we have the Jags. Is it the Jags?
Yeah,
It's the
Monday night.
Jaguars. And then it's Chris. Go ahead and pull up the sketch. Chris, give that a goo.
I
Throw
can
it
tell
on
you right now, we got Cardinals on Sunday, then Thursday night Miami, then Monday night home Jaguars,
And then the Ravens.
then the Ravens, then the
I forgot about that.
then the Texans. There's your first month.
Yeah. So your first month of football is crazy. So if you have an opponent who on paper looks painfully thin on defensive line, linebacker, run support from the secondary, why wouldn't you make that the crux of your offensive attack and throw in some of the wrinkles of your passing attack? You're going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah,
But you've got mismatches to do that with and save some of the more exotic things for later.
I like it.
So that's on Brady. Like, Brady has to figure that out. Flip over to the other side, Babbage. Kyler Murray's mobility inside and outside of the pocket is one of the things that makes him great. And it's one of the things that gives other team fits. It's hard to game plan and play call against because you could have the perfect call, and if he gets out of the pocket and somebody else breaks coverage,
Right.
it's a big play.
I mean, he's just like Jax. What's the guy in Ravens?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. He's just a smaller version of Lamar Jackson, and you try to contain that as much as you can, with Russo and with who's on the other side.
I honestly think Kyler Murray's a better passer than Lamar Jackson.
Epinesa, maybe. on the
Epinesa,
other
He
yeah.
throws the ball
No,
up.
I think so too, as well. I really do.
Well, here's what it is. It's just our defensive end. It's our archetype on defense.
Mhm.
We don't go out and draft fast, quick twitch pass rushers.
No.
What we do is we get big physical guys whose job is to push the pocket inside from the outside, crush it.
Yep.
But in that way, it clogs up any kind of escape route. So the quarterback can't really leave the pocket because he trusts our secondary.
Right.
And then once you have that, you come with defensive tackles and linebacker pressure in the A and B gap.
So, do you think this might be a Ed Oliver, Daquan Johnson type of a game?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
This is where I feel like our scheme helps us with a quarterback like Kyler Murray. And I think it helps us, especially knowing what his skill positions are and just how bad this offensive line is. Like, especially with Babbage's, like, just even in the preseason when they were being vanilla, the aggression that he
Yes.
showed. They're in the red zone, backed up inside the 10-yard line, and he sends a corner blitz with
I know,
Rasul
right?
Douglas anyway. Because he goes, it's fourth, they're going to go for it on fourth down, corner blitz.
I'm like,
It
he
might be
does
a
know
play-
this is preseason, right?
Play action pass, it might just go right over his head, but fuck it, we're sending a corner. And he gets him for a 2-yard loss. And you're like,
can see
that's
it.
crazy because McDermott never would have called it.
No. But you can see the aggression when it comes to Babbage, though.
Yeah.
You can see where Sean McDermott and Bobby Babbage, they're two different, of course, they're two different defensive coordinators, but you can see the aggression. You've seen it with Sean McDermott, but you can see it like 2 times fold when it comes to Bobby Babbage, I think.
And what I like is that when you talk about who the interior of our defensive line and our linebacker core are going to be dealing with when it comes to them, not only from a rushing perspective, because I don't expect much out of this interior offensive line. Like, I think that's the weak link in this entire offense for the Cardinals. This Froholt character, I mean, we send him packing right back to Europe. I want this game to be a bloodletting for the interior of their offensive line because they'll have deserved it by the way they built it. You have a guy who shouldn't be starting in the NFL as your center. You have a guy named Evan Brown playing right guard who is now on his 6th team since 2018. He changes teams almost every single year. He gets passed around like, well, there's jokes. There's
You can't
jokes.
say it.
He gets passed around.
You can't say
It,
it.
I had a good one lined up, and I was like, nope, that's too blue, even for YouTube. Even for YouTube, that's too blue. And then also Will Hernandez, who's not anything special, which is why the team that drafted him to be this high upside guard who's super aggressive, let him go. The interior, like our defensive tackles are not world beaters. Our
No.
defensive tackle room is not going to. They're not stars. Daquan Jones is good. And if he's still what he was last year, then he will be just a highly disruptive and consistent space eater.
I mean, he's better than the guy behind him.
Well, he's the guy behind him. I don't even know who it is. I'm joking.
No,
But it's the concept of the guy who's behind him is nothing special.
Right.
Dwayne Carter is a rookie. Ed Oliver, we know what Ed Oliver is,
Yeah.
but he can also be somewhat inconsistent, although he's coming off of a really good year.
I did not know he had 9.5 sacks. He had a quiet 9.5 sacks.
She goes, I didn't know that.
I didn't. I'm serious. I'm like looking, just doing some stuff, and I'm like, he had 9.5 sacks.
It didn't feel like it, did it?
No, it didn't.
So this is one of those games where the other thing I think of, do you remember like the Matt Milano blitz? Like people keep think about all the times people have called Matt Milano dirty.
A dirty player. I
It's
know.
because he hits their quarterback.
Yeah.
Why is Matt Milano hitting the quarterback? Because this scheme thrives on, hey, we're going to hold your offensive line. We're going to crush the pocket. And oh, by the way, every now and again,
gonna sink
when everybody spreads out to try to stop what our ends are doing, we're going to eat up space and then send a linebacker.
Just
And when
rushing through it.
A and B gap. And that's where we have a real opportunity
Yeah.
to disrupt everything Arizona wants to
Yeah.
do, from tackles for loss in the running game to quarterback pressures that force him to throw. Because if you let him escape, it's like Josh Allen. If you rush around the ends and you give him an alleyway out, he's going to
He's gonna take it.
and he'll run.
Yeah.
Or he'll buy time with his feet and wait for somebody to break coverage and throw for a first down or throw for significant yardage.
And speaking of that, when you said when letting the linebackers just run through that Washington game, when Bernard was
sacks?
just going crazy.
Bernard was going crazy. He was eating that
Yeah.
offensive line's
Yeah.
lunch because they couldn't handle a delayed blitz.
Right.
Do you think that these clowns that they've aggregated from around the NFL scrap heap, you think they're going to be adept at picking up a delayed blitz?
No.
I just think that if we make the right play calls and we coach everything up properly and you've watched enough tape, they'll recognize that this is the weakness of the whole offense. I don't want to hear about wide receivers. Don't talk to me about the quality of the running backs because it won't matter. That interior offensive line is garbage, and Babbage has a real opportunity to just lean into it. I mean, the center and the guard combined for 50 pressures and 7 sacks last year. And they weren't even on the same team. So now you put these two guys together. They've never played together in a live football game. And Froholt's not even supposed to be starting. It's like me if they were to hand me the keys to a CFO job somewhere. My old boss joked around with me. He goes, well, there's nowhere for you to go here except for my job. And I was like, yeah, they'd put me in your chair for one day. I would run this company into the ground because I shouldn't be here. I'm smart enough to know where I shouldn't be professionally. He should be smart enough to know you don't belong in the NFL as a starting center. You've been doing this for 4 years. No one trusted you, and now all of a sudden you're the guy? I don't
But
believe
yet and
that.
still they extended him then, I think.
Oh, my God. He's their guy for a while.
I think they extended him. So,
He better be, for Kyler Murray's sake.
hey.
I anticipate they'll run a lot of the game out of the shotgun to try to mitigate some of that A and B gap pressure.
I also think they may run the ball. They try to run the ball again. Oh,
Sure.
James Conner.
Good luck. Good luck, because if there's one thing our linebacker core does really well and our safeties do really well, it's picking up the run.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, everyone's screaming. Like, this is the thing. Everyone's screaming about Damar Hamlin getting the start. Are you worried?
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not worried. I was telling Eric Harris, who we were in a text chat with, he was kind of miffed that Hamlin's getting the start, but I don't think Cole Bishop was going to get the start at safety,
No.
injury or not,
No.
because unless McDermott has people at that position to play, he's going to play them over rookies. He's done it his entire time here.
100%.
That's why Matt Collins is ahead of Coleman on the depth chart. Why
Yep.
Hamlin's ahead of Bishop in the depth chart. And I think Ty Johnson is ahead of Ray Davis on the depth chart.
You have to earn it.
Unless we absolutely need you on the field. If you're a rookie, you're going to be riding
And
pine
not
on
even
the
that.
bench.
Not even that. Hamlin knows the playbook. So he's not going to put a rookie that was just here this year, understanding the playbook, not a lot. Where Hamlin has been in this 3 years now, going in 3 years.
You also can't put a rookie out there against a team for significant snaps. Don't get me wrong. I hope Cole Bishop sees some
I
play.
do too. I want him to see. Yeah, tomorrow, Sunday. I want him to play, but I don't want him to start.
No, and I want it to be one of those things where he gets to let the speed of the NFL game come to him. Because if nothing else, that's what Hamlin has over him, is the fact that his eyes have adjusted to this is how fast NFL players move. This is how much time I have to get to my spot. People got mad at Hamlin when he made mistakes when he was,
That Miami game.
Listen, especially Miami.
Yeah.
Shit happens fast.
It does. Bernard just came out and said so they asked him his presser today because he became the captain for the first time. And he said, coming from then to now and how the game has slowed down. He said, my first year, everything was moving so fast and I couldn't understand it.
Yep.
He said, now it's just slowed down significantly. Like he was just like everything was just coming so fast. I couldn't even he couldn't recognize it.
For the phenomenon for us every day, layman, I always used to call it the wash. When I was like a little kid playing football, I was okay when they were like, "Hey, play left guard." And I'm a little kid and I'm playing left guard, and I go, "Oh, well, I'm bigger than all these kids, and I just push them down. I don't really need to know technique. I mean, you learn a little bit of it, but." And then there comes a game where a bunch of kids either get crampy or get hurt, and they're like, "All right, Gear, go out there and play linebacker." And I go, "What the fuck are you talking about? Play linebacker?" And they're like, "Just stand there. You don't have to do anything. We don't expect you to. We just need a body on the field. Go stand out there." So I go stand out there. And then the ball gets snapped, and I'm looking at the line of scrimmage, and I'm watching the offensive linemen kind of come off blocks and start working their way upfield. And I go, oh, shit, how does it, I can't see anything. It's just a blur of humanity in front of you. And then all of a sudden somebody runs by and knocks you on the ground. And I go, fuck, I got caught in the wash. And it would, or then I'd try to approach a running play. And it's a mix of bodies, and you're trying to identify who the ball carries. And then you get hit and you get knocked and you get pushed by somebody and a guy runs past you. And you go, damn it. How am I supposed to keep up with this?
Yeah.
I was never intended to play the position because I can't process fast enough.
Gotcha.
It's all processing. And it's just, can you see and kind of surf through all that mess and react to it in real time? That's what defines the guys who are great at that job. And you would never put a rookie in that position. That's why I'm interested to see this Taylor Demerson that everybody believes is a great player as a rookie, as starting safety. Good luck, because the best offensive coordinators are going to show you something and then give you something else, and I don't know how they react to it.
Well, that's why Sean McDermott is so good when it comes to rookie quarterbacks.
Rookie defensive backs he is very good with because he understands that nature. And so with that said, DeMar Hamlin doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
I think that, in fact, him and Taylor Rapp are probably one of the keys to this thing, because it's going to be on them to keep the lid.
Right.
Things will break down inevitably. Kyler Murray will get loose on a couple scrambly plays, and it's on you as a safety to make sure that whatever mistakes get made in front of you, you shut it down.
Right.
Live to fight another day. Don't let this become the game where we get gashed for 3 or 4 gigantic plays that change the game. It's on those safeties.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see if they're up to the task.
For sure.
Predictions, Chris. Under over Keon Coleman first down receptions.
Ooh.
What's the line?
I'm going to make the line.
All right. Well,
and I'm
what
going to
is
say
it?
it's 2.5.
I'm going to say under.
Under.
Yeah.
Interesting. Not a believer?
No, I just don't think he's going to get the amount of playing time that people think he's going to get.
Which is fair. We just got them talking about it. The speed of the game, the physicality involved. We talked about it in the preseason. I don't think he's used to the physicality of corners yet. He's 6'4" and just brolic, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand what it takes to play tough, you have to play those guys. Because that guy who's 5'10", he's going to play you like he's 6'4".
Yeah. Look, these cornerbacks, these safeties don't care. They're going to push you. They're going to do whatever. The Kansas City guy, Worthy, got knocked off his off his spot. Both guys, like bing bing, just knocked him off his spot. And you're what, a buck? What was he? A buck 90 maybe,
Mhm.
not even. Like, I'm glad we didn't take him. I'm good. Listen, I got this thing. I'm trying to do this
Worthy
narrative.
getting put on his ass was top 10
Yeah.
content for me this
So
week.
here's
the
my-
way to the
Finger-
average Democrat.
Oh,
It's
God.
what an ass. Xavier Worthy, like that video of him just getting pinballed around is finger licking good like KFC. Mwah.
Here's my narrative I'm going around doing. Every time, so Dwayne Carter, right? We got Dwayne Carter from the Kansas City Chiefs. So when Dwayne Carter sacks that guy over there in Kansas City, I'm gonna say thank you, Kansas City.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Kansas City. You let that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, because we got that pick because of you. Remember?
Thank you.
Dude. It's the whole narrative's
It's
ridiculous.
crazy.
Chris,
Crazy.
Steve Noble makes a great point. Good luck to Murray trying to throw over our defensive line. That's why short quarterbacks have such a these short, mobile, like, hey, I'm fast. Lamar Jackson's not that tall.
And AJ Epinesa
And-
does that for short
And
all the
you-
time.
And you watch how Lamar Jackson
Yeah,
has struggled
struggles
against the Bills.
Yes.
Because of the way we play defense and the way that we've built
Yeah.
our roster.
Mhm.
It's a problem for him.
You're so right.
And that's why guys like him are going to struggle without the run support, without the extra. I mean, he doesn't have a DeAndre Hopkins to bail him out this time. You're in
Yeah.
trouble, Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
And it's the good luck, Godspeed.
What is he, 5'8"?
Super Mexican ain't going to be no Hail Murray if we're ahead by 24 points at the end of the game.
You're right. You're right.
I'm just reading through the comments now. Jimmy Key, get a hold of us on Twitter. Just shoot us a DM at Rockpile Report. We'll tell you everything about what's on the menu, what's going on with Kansas City. Guys, we're tailgating at Dock Slot this week. So what is it, Chris? What's the address?
4180 Abbott Road. Do we have a way of getting there?
Is this new?
That's
Yeah, well, you and I are going to have to work that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and I are going to have to figure that out. No, so we've been doing it. We parked there last year. It's
Oh, okay.
actually a really
Okay.
good spot for tailgates. It's good for foot traffic because we're only a 5-minute walk from the stadium.
Oh, okay. Because I know you guys, your original tailgate was
Mudlot.
Yes, taken away, right?
Pour one out. Pour a warm Montucky out for the Mudlot.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun game because our wives are going to be there. So if you're coming to the game and you
Wait,
stop by
what?
the tailgate, you can
Yeah.
meet our wives.
You can meet our significant
What
others.
happened?
Just because this is what happens when you get married. Your wives are like, hey,
You've
we
never
wanna,
said this before.
they go, we want to come to the game.
Well,
and I
no
go, honey, I would
announcement
love
anyway.
to have you to the game.
Look
This
at
was
you.
actually my idea
Oh, look at
because
you.
Dan is going to pay into a PSL, but maybe he's going to come to one game this year. Maybe
Maybe.
Potter bailed out.
Well, Potter bailed out because he
He's got
had a baby.
had a baby, so we had 2 tickets, and then I made this. Jessica's never been to a game yet, so with me, so. But we're not gonna. I'm not gonna say, hey, you want to come to a game with a bunch of dudes? Like Larissa's not gonna be there. So like, there's one of our friends, Heather and Josh. Josh has season tickets 1 section over from us. His girlfriend's coming, so now
okay.
Jessica's got Larissa. She's got Heather. She's got some estrogen to talk to.
Cool.
Not just
So it's not just
surrounded-
you guys and her.
Not being surrounded by a bunch of dudes. So
I'll say
it'll be
this,
fun.
guys. For those of you watching, if there's any women in the YouTube watchers, in college, I thought as a freshman, like a couple weeks in, I go, you know how I'm going to introduce myself to people in the dorm hall? I'm going to go to Walmart. And when I was there, I had the thought in real time. I saw this giant, it was almost like a 5-gallon bucket, but it was just a jar, a big ass jar full of pickled sausage. And I was like, I'm buying that. I told my buddy Joe, I go get some beers, throw them in a backpack. We're going to walk the entire dorm building. And every time I'd walk past a room full of dudes with their door open, just sitting there like hanging out, I'd walk in and just be like, did someone say it's a sausage party? And he would start playing music and we'd offer people beers.
Oh my God.
It's a sausage party. Admittedly, our tailgate. It's a sausage party.
Gotcha.
But it's one of the best.
Okay.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see everybody who shows up. Come check it out. Iman will be on the grill.
Cool.
Cam Calandra's coming. He's making sandwiches. We got all kinds of stuff happening over there.
Awesome.
Final score prediction, Chris. Win, lose, by how many points? What do you think?
I think Buffalo's going to end up winning this game. I'm going to say 23-13.
T. You think it's close? You think a 10-point game?
Yes. That 5.5 scares me on the line.
T,
Yeah,
what
I
do you
don't
think?
like that. I have it 27-17.
27-17, 10-point game.
Yeah.
You guys like this 10-point line. I think that they're going to score points. I think the Bills are going to score a ton because I think the play action pass is going to get in. Like, I think once they can get the running game established because that front seven's not great. I mean, they were the worst run defense in the NFL last year. What have they done that tells me that they've tried to improve?
That's true.
You didn't bring in in better
change
defensive
anything,
linemen. In fact, your defensive line got worse just by injury attrition.
Right.
You didn't bring in better linebackers. You brought in players who were worse. Okay,
And
great.
then one of your main linebackers got injured.
I don't even feel bad laughing about that. That's how I'm petty. I want this to be one of those games. Like, I remember the Rex Ryan era started with a Colts game here where we almost shut out the Colts. And everyone's like, well, they have Andrew Luck. And it was like, yeah, well, we have a good defense.
Oh,
and
I
we
remember
have,
that game.
Yeah. I remember they went for it on 4th down, 4th and goal. And it was the loudest I'd ever heard the stadium to that point. I believe this could be a very similar game. I think that this thing could get away from them very quickly. I think that the Cardinals are going to have to really, really, really work to manufacture offense. And I think they're going to have to work even harder to manufacture defense. And I think that our ability to move the football, I hope they do it in a very, like, again, a run-heavy fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see us scoring 4 rushing touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
Like, if you gave me the under-over at 3.5 on rushing touchdowns, I'm going to call it over.
So you're saying 20?
I'm calling a minimum of, well, let's call it 28.
Mm-hmm.
28. 28-13.
Okay.
I see this being that
Ryan
game.
Tongan gave us $19.99. That's more than enough for a bottle of Old Tub, dude. I appreciate it.
Oh, wow.
Ryan Tongan! God, you know what? I love this. I love this community that we've cultivated.
Wow.
I love the fact that we get to do Ryan, thank you.
Look at Ryan.
Guys, this is fun. I was just talking to T off air before we started doing this. Chris, we've been doing this for over an hour and a half, and there's still 21 people watching.
Yeah, because everybody left to go watch Greg and Aaron over on Cover One.
Who cares?
Well, you do.
I don't care.
You 100% do.
I was telling her, I don't care if anybody shows up. I do this because we like it. And the fact that you guys are still here talking in the chat and being a part of this and participating, that's what gets me fired up, is when I see that there's other people who care about this as much as I do. You have the same dynamic with your show over there on Built in Buffalo.
I do. Listen.
So why don't you sell it? Why don't you preach about it a little bit?
Well, I'm not the brightest over there, so it's all fun. And it's,
Who do you think you're not the brightest?
It's great.
You're my favorite?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, building Buffalo, the guys gave me an opportunity. I appreciate it. But listen, I love doing this because I'm a Bills fan and just like talking ball, right? I may not know all the ins and outs when it comes to schemes and all this other stuff, but I know a little.
You
and
do.
I just enjoy talking.
That's it. And you enjoy having sports discourse
Yes.
with people. And so you also need a dumping ground sometimes
Yeah.
for your thoughts
Oh,
and your
God.
emotions and your feelings. And so does everybody else. These guys need some catharsis. That's why they're watching us. And that's why they're here right now interacting with us through the chat and through this whole platform. And that's what I love about this medium. I love that I get to do it and I don't have to care about everybody who's not watching. It's just, hey, if you're here, that's awesome because I'm doing this. I'm doing it for me, and you guys are here. You're the ones I care about.
And there's a lot.
He goes,
Listen,
"Oh, you care that everyone left to go watch."
but
whatever." Who gives a fuck?
there's every look. There's a lot of podcasts, Buffalo Bills podcasts There's enough out there for everyone. If your taste is whatever it may be, there's enough.
Sure.
There's enough. So
Also, we're old as shit. I'm 40. I'm almost 40 years old.
and I'm not telling my age. It's
I am 40 and I would like to go to bed.
See, guys,
Chris
this is where
tired.
we've gotten. I love you guys. I love you guys as a fan base. I love the fact that I get to come in here and do this, and I know that I can trust that. I know the people who are going to show up, the do or dies. It makes me feel good about the thing that I choose to be a maniac about. And in that way, I can't wait to come back here and celebrate a victory over the Arizona Cardinals. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Let's go.
I can't wait for it. We're going to be loud. We're going to be proud. We're going to go out there and raise some hell. If you're going to the game, make it a point to stop by Doc Slot, say hi, grab a drink with us. Chris, what's the cocktail of the week?
I will have a Arizona old fashioned, old tub, date
Oh.
syrup, and I think cardamom bitters.
There
is
we
the
go.
Final answer. My wife made that choice.
Guys.
Cardamom bitters.
Make
Cool.
sure you stop by and say hi. Make sure you go follow T. Where can they find you?
Not Your Average Podcast in the 711. Ooh, too many of those.
Ha
Not Your Average Podcast in the 716 on the Build in Buffalo, on YouTube, on all the social medias. I appreciate you guys, and also Tea Time with Robin as well.
Everyone thinks it's easy to sit here and suck down half a dozen beers during a podcast. It looks easy. Go ahead and try it. Guys, we got to get the hell out of here. Thank you for showing up tonight. I'm Drew Gear. That's Chris Kruger. That's T. And this has been your Rock Pile Report.
Peace, y'all.